get back to court.
Approximately 10:40 to 10:50, he gave a slow injection over 3 to 5 minutes of 25 milligrams of propofol. Is that correct?
Yes.
And of the statements made by Dr. Murray to the police, that last statement of the 3 to 5 minute injection of propofol was the only one that Dr. Schaefer, Dr. Murray's statements, that Dr. Schaefer did not diagram in his report. Is that correct?
Objection. Testimony, Dr. Schaefer diagrammed that at the request of the defense.
No.
It was introduced into evidence.
I'll repeat the question.
I think it has to do with report.
Yeah.
The objection's overruled. You can repeat it.
The only, of Dr. Murray's statements to the police, the only one he really didn't describe in his report that he wrote in April was the 3 to 5 minute dose of propofol at approximately between 10:40 and 10:50. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct. But Mr. Walgren is also correct in saying that I requested Dr. Schaefer to do the simulation, and he kindly did it for me and emailed me the results, which I think were presented yesterday or previously.
I'd like to put previously marked EEE on the screen, and I want to show you that diagram. What is that diagram?
That's the diagram that Dr. Schaefer provided to me in request to a simulation of what Dr. Murray stated he administered Mr. Jackson on the morning of his death.
Now, that simulation right there, that's he put it on that chart, and the x-axis, does that indicates 10 minutes?
Oh, the x-axis, I'm sorry. Yes, that's minutes following the initiation of the bolus injection into the IV.
And the x-axis?
The y-axis is the propofol concentration that would be expected to result following the administration, well, during and after the administration.
And it shows that it reaches a peak level somewhere in the vicinity, both blood and his anticipated brain level, both reach approximately the point of 1.
Yeah, he simulates.
There's a lot of whole questions.
1, and that would be micrograms per milliliter?
Yes.
Now, if you were to condense the time and put that graph on a next in order is EEE. If you condense that slow injection over 3 to 5 minutes, you'd have to tighten up the slopes, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it would become more peaked, if you will.
Quadruple E.
And I want to show you quadruple E. Would the slope look something like that if you adjusted the time to account for the 0 to 12 hour x-axis?
I believe that's a reasonably good representation, yes.
Now, based upon Dr. Murray's to the police, his statement to the police on that day in question, on the June 27th, is that what he told the police that Michael Jackson had had that night?
The transcript itself and audio has been played directly to the jury. I don't think it's for this witness to interpret what was said.
The objection is sustained as the form of the question. You can refine the question, taking what you just said into account.
These simulations, this simulation here, does it accurately depict what Dr. Murray, in terms of simulation, what Dr. Murray informed the police of?
Well, it's a simulation.
Go ahead.
It's a simulation performed by Dr. Schaefer, which I think is accurately depicts an average patient who had received.
Objection. This exhibit is not a simulation made by Dr. Schaefer. Counsel's just indicated they added this peak.
The objection is sustained. The partial answer stricken. Please disregard. Re-ask, please.
Okay. The lorazepam, midazolam, those are Dr. Schaefer's depiction of what he thinks the benzodiazepines would be at the indicated time. Is that correct?
Yes.
The propofol simulation up there is basically your simulation based upon Dr. Schaefer's information to you of what the propofol would look like. Is that correct?
It's not my simulation. It's Dr. Schaefer's simulation. All we did in this illustration is just compress the time frame. So I don't want to take credit for a simulation that I didn't make.
Okay. Now, let's assume that what Dr. Murray told the police that day was accurate. Would this present a dangerous situation here?
Not at all.
Could you explain that?
Well, as can be shown in many studies, giving small doses of either midazolam or propofol have very transient effects. The dose of propofol that we're talking about here, 25 milligrams, is equivalent to 0.4 milligrams per kilogram in Mr. Jackson. And that is a dose that might be used to produce a little bit of anxiety relief, a little bit of sleepiness, and has actually been studied for pre-medication of patients.
And who studied that?
Well, the paper that I refer to is by Rondo and Thompson, published in 2008.
And did you bring a copy of that paper to court with you?
No, but I hope you did.
With Angie's List, I save time,